So, in my last poetry video, whenever that was, I know I've been away a little while, I'm sorry, I'm back now. I needed a little bit of space to kind of, I don't know, sort my head out. I was a little bit burnt out, I think, but I'm back. But in my last poetry video, I made a fairly brief, which may have been around 6 minutes, mention of my favourite Bo Burnham song, which is Can't Handle This, and it made me realise 3 things. The first being, so many of you guys love Bo Burnham as much as I do, which excites me, and I love it and I appreciate it, and it's amazing to kind of share these things I love with others like you. The second thing was that some people haven't read into the song as deeply as I have, which is completely normal, and I don't expect everyone to overthink and overread everything like I do, not at all, but it does make me excited to talk about the song a little bit more and kind of share my thoughts about it with you guys. Especially to those of you who haven't really thought about it before, because that's new and exciting, you know? And the third thing it made me realise is that the few minutes I spent in that last video talking about the song were nowhere near enough. It's such a funny, smart, deep, moving song, which, as I said before, I connect with on such a deep level. I really relate to it. It's one that means a hell of a lot to me. And I could potentially, I think, discuss it for hours, but I don't want to bore you. So we're going fairly in depth with this video, but still only really scratching the surface. Either way, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I am so excited to do this with you guys. I'm basically going to share my thoughts, condensed as much as I can, and then open the floor to you guys so you can tell me what you think of it. Am I overanalyzing? Am I reading too much into it? Or is there stuff that I've missed that I haven't even covered? Do you feel the same as me? Do you feel differently? Either way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments when you get to the end of the video, or before, as you go along, whatever works for you. So, Can't Handle This is the big finale to Bo's show, Make Happy. And it's this wonderful satire of a Kanye West rant that's kind of like auto-tuned, but Bo's version, again, it has like the background music, the auto-tune, the kind of ranting style, but it has this genuinely deep message about what it's like to be a creative and how as a performer, and again I say creative again, Bo kind of struggles between making himself happy and trying to keep everyone around him happy. It's a song that's very kind of silly and mundane on the surface, but that has a really deep and honestly quite emotional meaning to it. Like I say, on the surface, it's about silly problems like Pringles and burritos, but they're just metaphors for his real feelings about not fitting in, taking on too much work, and general insecurity. Before we do jump into the video though, I do want to do a cheeky little shout out to my merch store, because I've got new designs in there, and I'm really excited about them, including this jellyfish design, which is a hand-drawn design by me. It's one of my favourites, and I love it. And like I say, I got my hoodie this weekend, and I've been constantly wearing it. I just adore it. It's such a comfy hoodie. The design is really cute. You can get the jellyfish on everything from like hoodies to t-shirts to stickers to, I think there's some really cute cushions and stuff, which I'm going to be getting as well very soon, don't worry. It's a really cute design, but I not only have that, I've got designs with kind of like quotes and sayings from my videos and stuff that you guys have asked for. I've got my cute octopus design, who is one of my, I say who, it's one of my favourite little designs I've ever done. Basically everything in my merch store is designed by me. It's all a bit of like a passion project and a lot of fun, and something that I kind of try and get really creative and really like inventive with. So if you guys want to help support my channel and support me and help me keep making these kinds of videos, I would really appreciate it if you check out my merch store if you can afford it. But if you can't, also don't worry, there's no pressure there at all. It's just something that's there if you guys are interested. Anyway, shameless self-promotion out the way. Let's talk about Bo Burnham. So in introducing the song, sorry, I've got my like notes and the lyrics and stuff on my phone here, so I'm going to be looking at this a little bit. But in introducing the song, Bo says that he went to Kanye West's recent tour, and with auto-tune on his voice, Kanye apparently talked about his problems, you know, race, power, his $90 t-shirts weren't selling very well. And it's funny, you know? It's like saying, here's a man with all this money and power and influence talking about really big important topics, but really it all came back to the fact that he wasn't quite making enough money on his merch, his overpriced merch. It's kind of hilarious when you think about it, especially with the kind of person that Kanye is. I say that like, oh yeah, no, I totally know about Kanye West. No, I'm not that well educated in Kanye. I don't think I could really like hear one of his songs and be like, oh, that's Kanye West. But I know, I've surprisingly learned a lot more about him recently. Jay Aubrey did this amazing, like, 90-minute video that was like a mini documentary on Kanye and his history. And as someone who has no interest in either Kanye or rap music, I still found it absolutely fascinating and learnt so much, and sat there and just watched the whole thing in one go and was like, damn. I'm off topic, sorry. Anyway, the point is, it's kind of hilarious when you think about the kind of person Kanye is. And I see the irony in me mocking someone for talking about their merch when I just plugged mine 2 minutes ago. But I can tell you, I make considerably less on my merch than Kanye does. I'm not shelling. Freudian slip right there. I'm not selling $90 t-shirts. I'm selling like £20 t-shirts, and I make about £2 or £3 on each one, so there you go. Anyway, enough about Kanye. So this whole song is like a satire of Kanye's rant, but also Bo makes it very personal. He takes a style and makes it his own, you know? Like I say, Kanye's song, if you can call it that, basically takes these really, really big, important issues like race and power and makes them about himself because his merch isn't selling and he's not quite making enough money. Bo manages to do the exact opposite of this, and it's so smart how he does this. Basically, instead of using big topics as a front to complain about his shallow problems, he talks about shallow problems as a front to talk about his bigger problems, like anxieties and issues and all that kind of stuff. It is literally genius. And I don't throw that word around lightly, but yeah. His first verse is about Pringles, and oh my god, it is so funny because I swear everyone can relate to this, like on a surface level, if we're taking it just to be about Pringles. He says, I can't fit my hand inside a Pringle can. I have a huge amount of trouble fitting my hand inside a Pringle can. I can get my hand like 4 inches to the can, but then I have to tilt the can into my mouth, but then a bunch of crumbs have accumulated at the bottom of the can, so they all go spilling on my face. What I'm trying to say is the diameter of a Pringle can is way too small. I mean, yeah, it's funny, it's silly, everyone's like, oh my god, yes, I have that all the time. Who hasn't had Pringles spill on their face? But it's also about so much more than just Pringles. I think there's a reason he chose Pringles as his example here, and it's not just because the size of the can is kind of annoying. Pringles, when you think about them as a crisp, are all uniform in shape. They all fit very snugly together. They're also very recognisable, and they're all the same. Using Pringles as a metaphor and saying he can't manage to fit his hand inside the can is about how he's trying to conform to society's standards and he's struggling. He can't quite fit in, even though it seems like everyone else is, you know? Sometimes you might start to fit in a little bit. You get partway there. As he says, you get your hand like 4 inches to the can, but then you never really manage it fully. You can never quite fit in there and be like the others, you know? He says the diameter of Pringle cans is way too small. 2 radiuses of a Pringle can is way too small. However you word it, he's saying society's standards are too narrow for you to fit in. So you try and make a positive change, you know, you tilt the can into your mouth, and it backfires. A bunch of crumbs all go spilling on your face. And this isn't just Bo's problem. He's like, this isn't just me. He points out that everyone shares the same problem, really. And so there's something quite interesting about that, where we all feel like we have to conform to the same standards, and yet we all struggle with it. He says, if you feel me, put your hands up. Look at all these hands that are way too big to fit inside a Pringle can. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle can. Your hands are too big to fit inside a Pringle can. You think you can. I know you can't. You think you can. He's saying some people do fit in more than others, but in general, a lot of people think they can, or they're at least pretending to be pretty successful at doing it. But Bo is like, look, I see you. I know you can't. So why are we all even pretending here? It's definitely like creating this rapport with the audience, saying we're all in the same position, but he's using this funny joke to like make that point. But I don't know. Anyway, it's fantastic. And then he calls out Pringles. He says, Pringles, listen to the people. I'm sure 90% of the complaint letters you get are about the width of your cans. Just make them wider. And yes, it's hilarious because, yes, please, Pringles, make your cans wider. Only people with tiny baby hands like me can actually get their hands in a Pringle can. The normal person, But also, he's saying to everyone in the audience, look around you, listen to me, listen to each other, listen to yourselves. The media, society in general, we all here perpetuate these narrow standards. So does social media. So does the way we interact with each other. So do our friendships and relationships and so on. We are the ones perpetuating this. Why aren't we actually listening to each other and making the change? He's calling out Pringles, but really he's calling out everyone in the room. He's calling out society as a whole, you know? He then pretends to switch to like a slightly deeper, more profound tone with the lines, I want to have a daughter, which they catch you off guard because after what is seemingly a shallow rant about Pringles, it's like this typical deep thing that people talk about, you know, like, oh, I want to have kids and I want to pass on my legacy and blah, blah, blah. And it kind of comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh, this is kind of deep. And then in typical Bo Burnham style, he switches your expectations and he makes it about Pringles again. He says, I want to have a daughter so I can finally have someone around the house who can fit their hand in the Pringle can. Sorry. Yes, I'm still in the Pringles can thing. Yeah, see, it still makes me laugh. No matter how many times I've heard this song, and it's in the hundreds, it still makes me laugh. So there's humour here in taking something so deep and making it seem shallow. And there's another level to this, because I think, and I know some of you might think I'm reading into this too deeply, but I honestly don't think I am. Because I think there is a deeper meaning here. Like, it's a commentary on how parents will sometimes have kids for selfish reasons. You know, parents who push their kids to do all the things that they couldn't do. Like, I can't fit into society, so I'm going to make you do it. I can't fit my hands in a Pringle can, so I'm going to get a daughter who can do it for me. I'm kind of tripping over my words a bit, sorry. You know, it's a commentary on the kind of parents who use their kids to live vicariously. And it kind of makes you think. You know, we can laugh about it when someone says they're going to have a kid so they can finally have someone to fit their hands in a Pringle can. We can laugh at that and see it for the ridiculous thing it is. So why don't we laugh at it when a mother pushes a kid into doing sport or dance or music or something so they can kind of live vicariously through their kids? Why don't we laugh at that and see that for how ridiculous it is? So on to the next verse, and things start to step up a bit. And this is part of the bit that I spoke about in my last poetry video a couple of videos ago. So Bo says, I don't go to the gym because I'm self-conscious about my body, but I'm self-conscious about my body because I don't go to the gym. Irony can be so painful. That's a catch-22. So as I said in my last video when I was talking about this bit, on their own, these lines would be quite basic and not shallow, but simple at least. But in the context of the song overall, they are incredibly revealing and important, and they take on a much deeper meaning than if they were just said on their own. I mean, the meaning itself is quite simple. I mean, using the whole gym/body insecurity reference is something which is incredibly relatable to a hell of a lot of people, right? I'm sure most people have felt at least a little bit like this at some point in their lives. Bo is basically saying, I know I need to change, but I'm too insecure, and I get more insecure because I'm not changing. Again, that is something that is very relatable to a lot of people, even when it's not specifically about the whole gym body insecurity thing. As he goes on to talk about it being a catch-22, a situation that you can't get out of, it builds up to this overall heartbreaking picture of a man who wants to change but he doesn't know how. He feels trapped, stuck in this seemingly endless downward spiral. And like I say, on its own, this might just be like a silly line about a man feeling a bit insecure, but in the context of the rest of the song, we see the anxiety and the insecurity and how every little thing builds up and builds up. And so again, the song ramps up again, and we get this iconic verse about burritos. And again, it's such a silly, shallow little thing, but the meaning behind it, he's using burritos as this metaphor, analogy, whatever, as this image to represent his work, his insecurities, well, we'll get onto it. Let me read it to you. I went to Chipotle, got myself a chicken burrito. I went down the line and I got all these ingredients. At the end of the line, the guy tried to wrap the burrito, but half the stuff inside the burrito spilled out, and he still wrapped it. I was like, dude, you should have warned me. You're a burrito expert. You should have told me halfway through. Hey man, you might be reaching maximum burrito capacity here. Do you ever think I want a messy burrito? No one wants a messy burrito. Again, this is like a typical relatable scenario on a surface level because, God, yeah, no one wants a messy burrito, right? That is annoying as hell. And yeah, everyone's like, I've been there. You can have a good giggle over it. But again, it's a metaphor for a much deeper meaning. The burrito is a metaphor for Bo's career and the ingredients for all the different projects and work that he's taking on. He gets chicken, cheese, lettuce, all these wonderful ingredients, which are so lovely on your own, and you're there thinking, damn, all these things together, this is going to be incredible, right? Just like it might be incredible in real life to take on a whole bunch of really exciting projects. Making YouTube videos, doing live shows, writing a poetry book, creating a film, doing all that stuff that you've always dreamt of. They're all the big projects Bo's taken on, and it's amazing, it's incredible. And all those things, he definitely wants to do them, and he thinks together they're going to be amazing and build to this wonderful career. But what about when the burrito won't wrap up neatly? Just like when you take on too many projects, even if you love them all individually and they're all wonderful individually and you think they're all going to work together, when you take on too much, it gets messy and you end up spilling food down yourself, or rather overworking yourself and getting burnt out, or just feeling overwhelmed in general. He calls out his burrito expert as saying, dude, you should have warned me. He wishes that someone in the industry, someone he worked with, someone older, wiser, someone who's been there before, had probably warned him not to take on so much. Like, he's there saying, I want to do this project and this project and this project. And it's basically a cry for help, saying, why didn't someone tell me I was taking on too much? He says, I wouldn't have got half the stuff if I knew it wasn't going to fit in the burrito. All right, look, I wouldn't have got the lettuce if I knew it wouldn't fit. I wouldn't have got the cheese if I knew it wouldn't fit. I wouldn't have got the peppers if I knew it wouldn't fit. I wouldn't have got half of it. He's basically saying, I wouldn't have taken on half these projects if I knew all the stress it would cause. It's about regret and looking back at your actions and saying, I wouldn't have done half of this if I'd known how much strain it was going to put on me. Why didn't someone tell me it was going to be this way? Why didn't someone tell me I was taking on too much? Why wasn't there someone there to warn me? Or rather, there was someone there to warn him and they just didn't. He says, like, I'm okay with small mistakes. If you got no more chicken, I'll take pork. But I'll blow my dad before I eat a burrito with a fork. Which, again, clearly a joke, very funny. But it's also this comment about how he'd rather do something incredibly unpleasant and struggle through it before compromising his artistic integrity, you know? He's overwhelmed, he's struggling to make everything fit, but he doesn't want to give up, he doesn't want to use a fork, he'd rather do things properly. And then, after all the silly metaphors and jokes, and this seemingly quite shallow rants and whatever, he's like, wait, no, I want to make sure you're really getting this to the audience. And the tone changes, and it becomes a lot more, I guess you could say, somber. The music sounds a lot kind of slower and deeper, and it kind of really hits you that, no, wait, he's getting real for a moment. It's no more figurative language or metaphors or analogies. It's just a man and a microphone and the truth. And there's something about watching, particularly this part of the song, that just breaks my heart every time. It's so straightforward and raw and real, and it just hits you so hard. And this is the point where you realise what this rest of the seemingly silly song was about the first time you hear it. You realise that it's not about Pringle cans and burritos. It's about Bo and his life. He says, I can sit here and pretend like my biggest problems are Pringle cans and burritos, but the truth is, my biggest problem's you. I want to please you, but I want to stay true to myself. I want to give you the night out that you deserve, but I want to say what I think and not care what you think about it. And this is a dilemma that I think all artists and all creative people face, whether you're a comedian, a painter, a musician, or just a silly little YouTuber like me. Trying to figure out how to stay true to yourself while making other people happy, it's one of the most difficult things in this job, I think. And I don't want to sound like I'm overreacting or overstating this, but honestly, it's tough, and it's something that I struggle with every single day. I mean, I'm sure it's the dream of most of us creatives to get paid for creating the things we love to create, right? At least that was my dream. Like, once I realised that, I mean, I've always loved creating stuff. I've always loved taking photos and painting and drawing. When I discovered that I loved making videos, the fact that I could get paid for this and make a living from it, like live my life doing this stuff, it seems so perfect and wonderful. And that's why I love creating my merch, you know? It's me creating art, which I've always loved to do, and suddenly people want it and they wear it and it helps me survive. It pays my rent, it pays my bills. And, you know, I'm not living an extravagant life. I don't have excess money, but I live okay. Like, it pays my rent every month, and while I still scrape by, at least I'm getting by. And there's something incredibly rewarding about that. It is the dream, to get paid for doing what you love, to be able to live off doing what you love. But the reality is that in order to get paid for something, for creating something, no matter how much you love it, other people have to like it as well. And that means sometimes that you have to compromise on what you're making to make it appeal to other people. It's like, if I use a quite personal example here, my best performing videos recently had been the Gabby Hanna poetry ones. You guys have probably seen this. I had like an insane bump in views and subs, and it was unbelievable to me. And I'm very, very lucky because I absolutely loved making those videos, talking about poetry in that way. It was so much fun and so rewarding, and I loved making them as much as I'd loved seeing the really positive feedback from all you guys. However, I also loved making my Ancient Egypt video recently. That was so much fun for me. And that video got like not even I don't know, it got about 10% of the views that the Gabby Hanna ones did, and it made barely any money. It was like, it probably made me like 50 quid, something like that, which is like, what, 2 weeks worth of food, if that? It's not a huge amount. So again, it's about compromise, because it's not just about making what I enjoy, but it's about making sure I'm making videos which have a lot of universal appeal, so that I make sure I can pay my bills, so that I can keep making all the types of content that I enjoy. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm rambling here. I mean, I think one of the big criticisms I got from a few people when I made the first Gabby Hanna video was people saying, oh, well, you've just seen Gabby's getting a lot of views recently, so you just made this to make money. And I'm like, well, I made the video initially because I wanted to, but also, yes, I'm happy it's making money, because that means I can focus on all the different projects I enjoy, and not just worry about if I'm going to be able to make my rent this month, you know? I don't think there's any guilt or shame to be had in making money from creating the things you love. Not at all. Of course, all this said, if I only made content for other people that I thought would have universal appeal, but didn't enjoy making it myself, then yeah, I'd have cash, but I probably wouldn't be as happy. So finding that balance between doing what you love and appealing to other people is so difficult, but so important. And like I say, that's one of the big things that Bo seems to be struggling, that I struggle with, that most of the people I know who do creative jobs also struggle with. Bo, he like says all of this by addressing the audience directly, and he says, a part of me loves you, a part of me hates you, a part of me needs you, a part of me fears you, and I don't think I can handle this right now. And this is just like so incredibly real and relatable, and it's like he's just saying what's in my head. And like I say, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way, which is why I think it's such a fantastic song that so many people love and can relate to and enjoy. So after a number of repetitions of the I don't think I can handle this right now line, that, God, they really hit hard and they hammer that message home, because of the amount of repetitions. It really kind of like gets stuck in your head and you're like, damn. But also I think the repetition kind of reminds me of, you know, when you're like in the middle of like an anxiety attack or a panic attack or something like that, or like quite a depressive episode, and I don't know if anyone else gets this, but I always have the same thoughts going around in my head, and it might be something as basic as like, oh, you suck, no one likes you, no one likes you, or it might be something more complicated. But when those like words and phrases and stuff just repeat round and round and round in your head and you feel it getting more and more intense, I always say it's like my head feels loud. That's what Bo's repetition of, I don't think I can handle this right now, and I can't handle this, that's what his repetitions remind me of. Anyway, sorry. So he talks about his audience again and says, but this time kind of like third person, as though he's kind of talking to himself, like the voice in his head is talking to him. He says, look at them, they're just staring at me, like, come and watch the skinny kid with the steadily declining mental health, and laugh as he attempts to give you what he cannot give himself. And once again, I know exactly how this feels. When you put yourself out there, whether it's on stage or on a screen or on a page, it can feel like everyone's just watching you, staring at you, almost like they're just waiting for you to screw up again. Or it can feel like they're just waiting to judge you, or it can feel like they're watching you but never really seeing you. Do you know what I mean? Like with Bo, they watch him, they laugh at his jokes and all that kind of stuff, but they don't see the truth behind it. They don't see his anxieties and his hurt and his pain and that kind of stuff, you know? It does make you feel incredibly self-conscious, but at the same time, you know you're kind of putting across this persona, and that's what people are seeing and judging, not necessarily what's going on behind the screen. I try and come across as a lot more confident and put together on camera than I actually am, and while I'm trying to be more open with you guys about everything, including my insecurities and stuff like that, it's sometimes hard to open up. And I still feel the pressure to kind of show you guys the best side of me, if that makes sense. I don't know, sorry, rambling, enough about me. Let's go back to this. You know, it's like when Bo says, you know, basically, he's like, you're all watching me as I'm struggling, and you have no idea because all you see are these silly jokes I'm making. And that's kind of true of this song. You know, it's like some people will listen to it and they'll only hear the silly jokes and the silly references to Pringle cans and burritos, but they won't see the suffering and the pain underneath it all. So even the structure of the song is a metaphor for Bo's life. It's genius. But you know, I guess like Bo says, it's a typical case of trying to make others happy because you can't make yourself happy. I've been there, I've done that plenty, you know? In his penultimate verse of the song, his insecurities come out again. He says, they don't even know the half of this right now. They don't even know the half of it. but I know I'm not a doctor, I'm a pussy, I put on a silly show, so I should probably just shut up and do my job, so here I go. And he's saying, look, I've opened up a bit in this song, but that's not even the whole story. I'm still not telling you everything. But before he can open up even more, it's like he's hit by this wave of insecurity, you know? He realizes, like, I'm no one important, I'm just a silly boy who sings silly songs, so why am I bothering to tell you all this? I should just shut up and do my job, which is making you laugh. And it's heartbreaking because Bo doesn't realize when he's writing or singing this song that, A, his job is important. Yeah, he's not a doctor or something like that, but what entertainers like Bo do is when they make us laugh, when they make us feel stuff, when they give us an enjoyable night out or a good song to listen to or whatever, they bring so much joy into the world, and that is such an important job. It's so important, it's so necessary, and sure, you're not saving lives in the literal sense like a doctor might be, but you are saving lives by bringing us that joy and that happiness and making us understand that there are people out there that we can relate to who are on the same page as us. And that helps a hell of a lot more than I think Bo realizes. And B, I don't think Bo realizes how important it is for people like him to open up about this sort of stuff and let the rest of us know that we're not alone in our insecurities and fears and stuff like that. Like, sure, you'll get some idiots who will just say to him, like, oh, shut up and get on with your job. But on the whole, the fact he's so willing to open up about his insecurities and struggles like this is, to someone like me, just as important as him telling silly jokes and making me laugh. When you see someone that you like and respect this much going through similar things to you, it definitely makes you feel a lot less alone. It makes you feel like, you know what, I can do this, I can get through this. And that's so important. And then he repeats some more lines about earlier about how he wouldn't have got half the stuff if he knew it wouldn't fit. And he directly tells us this isn't about food. So to all the people who probably think I'm reading too much into this, I think this couple of little lines here prove that wrong. Without sounding like, I don't know, without sounding like I know everything. I don't want to sound arrogant, but you can tell them anything if you just make it funny, make it rhyme. And if they still don't understand you, then you run it one more time. He's saying it's much easier to lay out all your deepest thoughts and fears and insecurities out there when you're making it into a silly joke and using silly images like Pringle cans and burritos, you know? Bo just opened up about worrying about not fitting in, not being able to improve himself, taking on too much work, and people probably didn't even notice the first time round, or the first time they heard that song. They probably didn't hear all the insecurities and stuff, because all they heard was a silly song about Pringles and the gym and burritos with a catchy tune and some funny rhymes and some silly jokes in there. But these lines at the end are his way of saying, no, I was saying more. And then he has this incredible epic final chorus, and then he ends with the simple line of, I hope you're happy. And I just find this incredible because after literally pouring his heart out on stage, Bo doesn't look for sympathy or applause or attention. All he cares about is his audience. And that's basically what Bo and his work always comes back to. He always wants to make his audience happy. No matter how much he's struggling, he wants other people to be happy. And that's why I think he's this wonderful, incredible, considerate person who I just have like the utmost respect for. I think he's fantastic, and that's why I wanted to talk about Bo Burnham and this song in particular today. Anyway, this has probably gone on quite long. I've probably been rambling quite a lot. I know I said I wanted to condense this and it's probably not happened, but there we go. You guys know me by now. This is what I do. I ramble. But for everyone who is still here, thank you for watching today. I appreciate you guys so much. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video, what you think of Bo Burnham in general, and what you think of this particular song of his. If you've ever struggled with any of these kinds of insecurities about fitting in, taking on too much, feeling like you're stuck in this downward spiral of insecurity and change and all that kind of stuff, please let me know down in the comments. Share your experiences, because I want to hear that. I want to start a conversation about it. I want to let more people know that they're not alone. And that this is something that so many of us go through and feel and face. And anyway, with that, thank you for watching today. If you can, please go check out my merch store. Otherwise, you can support me on Patreon and PayPal if you've got the money. If not, do not worry at all. There's no pressure. There's nothing saying you have to do it. Nothing like that. It's just there if you want to and if you can, and words. Otherwise, just please stick around, leave me a comment, give this video a little like, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for watching today. Bye.